And so you can see her mom and dad back there on the cover if you're watching along with us. And also Mike's favorite, Comet the Super Horse, is shown back up. I like what they do with Comet here, though. So,
okay. All right, I'll trust you.
What we get now this time,
as long as she doesn't try to tongue the horse or anything.
No. But you do remember that he was a guy at one point in time. That got turned
it doesn't
into
matter.
A horse
He's
by
still
Cersei.
a horse. Yeah.
Well, he was a guy first.
He's still a horse.
Okay.
Yeah.
We see that Crim of the Yellow Hills is with some of the other brigands, and they're causing problems wherever they are for this civilization on this planet. They are there. They're like, friend, like the brigands. We have rules like. We give you some last words if you got money for it. You want to pay us for any last words? Like, stuff like that. Like they're nemesis are about to destroy another planet. And we also get cut-ins of things going on in Krypton. But what happens is there's a swoosh and it scares Crim because he knows that Supergirl's there. And so that's when he pulls out another orb and he's like, I know you're here and I've got another one just waiting for you. Like we can play this game again and I can just cause you to disappear.
So these are single-use orbs.
They're single-use orbs, and it takes a lot out of somebody to create one.
Okay.
So we'll come to find out, this is his only other one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But it's taken a lot out of him to be able to create this. And so she flies up behind him while he's sitting there like, where will you go, huh? Where will you go this time if I send you somewhere? Like, where's it going to transport you to?
I love how she comes
right behind him.
They don't even have to make the sound or anything. It's just
and the line work is great on that. And she goes, hello, I'm Supergirl, and you're Crim of the Yellow Hills, and you shot my effing dog. And about that time, like he turns around and throws the orb.
Yeah.
And she comes in with her trusty steed Comet, and what they're going to do is they're going to try to attempt to outrun this Morty orb.
Where did Comet come from?
Like originally he was a guy.
Like why is he there?
And Cersei,
how did he get there?
She found him and like brought him with her on
now
their journey. Yeah.
The horse has been there the whole time?
No, she had no need for like they went and they got Comet is what I'm assuming.
Okay.
Like Comet's off doing his own thing. And they're like, you know what? I could really use Comet in case he's going to try to throw another orb at me.
Okay.
Because what this orb does is it pulls from all the energy around it. I'm going to spoiler alert a little bit. They're going to outrun and try to run to the edge of space.
Okay.
So to where the Big Bang did not touch, where there's no energy for it to pull from, where it'll just fizzle out. So she's going to use Comet to race the Morty orb. And while she's doing that, Ruthie is recanting to us and telling us about how while they were traveling, she eventually told her like what happened to her home planet. Okay. So it's intercut between her outrunning this Morty orb and the story of what happened to her in Krypton.
You're saying Morty orb?
Mordu orb. M-O-R.
Okay. All right. No, you're fine. You're fine.
I'll pull it back up.
Making sure I'm getting it right.
Mordu
orb.
Now I'm glad I know the pages I'm at least going to. Mordru. Mordru.
And
it's not an orb, it's a globe.
Mordru globe.
Let me call it right what it
That's
is.
Where
but
the
it
Niners
is an orb
play, right?
of power.
The Mordru Globe Stadium.
Something like that. But it is the Mordru globe. It is like a little orb of, that's just how I'm describing it. That's what it makes me think.
Yeah.
So they decide to the art on this is gorgeous.
That.
Oh, yeah. Mike, just wait.
She and the horse are just like blasting through space. I don't know how else to put it.
But while Ruthie is narrating, or we see what Supergirl is going through currently, Ruthie is narrating to us like Krypton did not die in a day. Like nobody's that kind for that to happen.
Yeah.
And she tells the story of how when, again, I don't have all of them here.
Yeah, sure.
But when Krypton exploded and like as it's exploding, Superman's parents put him in the ship. They send him to Earth, right?
Right. Got it.
Well, when Krypton exploded, Argo City, which is where Supergirl and her family lived, broke off from the rest of it.
It's David Bowie
still
song.
Intact. Argo City?
Argo City.
Might be.
David
Suffragette City is.
Oh, Suffragette City. Sorry.
But so the city was intact, but it's separate from the rest of the planet.
Okay.
So
the city was intact.
Like Argo City.
Separate from the rest
of
the planet.
Krypton exploded, but one city, Argo City, survived, and it's floating out there in space.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm following along.
So what
the city basically like a big chunk got blown off and the city was just on it.
Yes.
Okay.
So like I'm trying to see where it's talking about where running the orb. No, I've already talked about all that. But yeah, so this is just kind of like the last
Mordor
thing.
orb.
And so it broke off like that. It explodes. Argo City is split from the surface, and most of the city's people die when it splits from the rest of Krypton. But then some of them endured there, kind of like on the city. And the main scientist, Zor-El, who's Supergirl's dad,
Okay.
Zor-El made a bubble over the city to help kind of keep them alive, them as they floated through space.
Okay.
So,
well, that makes sense.
So what's happening while this is going on is also Supergirl's mom is very sick.
Okay.
What happened with Krypton that caused it to kind of explode is the core of the planet. And some of it, like, it kind of started turning into kryptonite, like it was poison in itself.
Okay.
And so, like, from that, like, it's starting to like poison the people there then. From the like, you know, from the ground up.
Yeah, I get that.
Like Supergirl's mom is one of those. So while this is happening, her dad has devised a plan of that lead like shielding can protect it like radiation from coming up through. So what they've done is through the city, they'll go through and they're hammering like lead sheets down across like the ground of Krypton to keep that all down there.
Yeah.
And they talk about, like, Supergirl talks about how it used, like, she sees it used to be a lot of them, and then eventually it's just her, the only one being able to finish it.
Okay.
Like, they said that there were 18,000 survivors that lived in Argo City when it split from Krypton, and 13,000 of them died from the radiation poisoning.
Wow.
So now she's down to 5,000. So she saw her whole planet explode, and then the city that she has there, the people she knew, that part's still alive, but then they're slowly starting to die from the radiation poisoning from the crypt. So she's like seeing, she's seen her planet die multiple times, no matter what she does. There start to be these, and I'm kind of going through all this, and then we can get to, you know, some of the pictures here, but they start to be, there we go, these meteorites that start like crashing into the artificial globe, and it's so sharp that it's starting to break and penetrate through the shield that they made there.
Well, they basically have no atmosphere or anything to get in the way at this point, right? So the only thing they've got is this magic orb or this magic like shield that he's put over it. Yeah.
That her dad's kind of put over it, that's protecting them.
There's nothing keeping the energy and all that from coming up through the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's why they have to do the lead shields. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm keeping up.
They talk about this being a year later from them putting down like the lead sheets, that a storm came and that the meteorites, like the size of bullets, started chipping away at the shielding until the radiation started to come back.
They just can't catch a break.
They can't. And so Supergirl's dad kind of tells her, like, you know, the shield can't be rebuilt. The radiation's coming back, but he's going to use all the resources he has left to build a ship to carry a single passenger. That's going to be her.
Yeah.
And she goes, there's
the Superman thing. He was just like, they just had a ship laying around, right?
Well, I think they made it for him because his dad knew that things were going to get bad. And when it starts to explode, they send him while that's happening.
All right.
There's a really great line from her dad in there about her always being his little girl. Like the writing in this is really great.
Yeah.
And how with her, there'll always be hope, at least when she's around. Like, that's why it has to be her that like gets out of here, kind of thing. And so that's what happens, is not being able to fix anything. They put her on the ship and send her out, as it's just doing, like, the last part of Krypton is just eventually going to erode away too. And it does.
Right.
So while all this,
well, that makes me wonder, like, did other cities on the planet of Krypton do the same thing?
I mean, there might be story. I'm not caught up on everything. There might be another place of Krypton that did.
Well, I mean, it just what I'm saying is it opens up that those possibilities, right? That something else happened the same way. You know,
there's this art here of like her writing comment, like trying to get away from the orb, intercut with like her going to see her dad there.
Yeah,
like is
I can see
hope?
The parallels. Yeah, sure.
I thought you would love this page. So they finally get to the edge of the universe.
Everything just goes black and white.
Touched. Yeah. And so it has nothing to pull from, but you see it just gradually fade through.
It's so cool.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, you start with all the color up top, and then you end up with the nothing. And honestly, these are meant to be back when they shipped her off. These panels. Nope.
Yes, these are. Yeah.
So they look quite faded.
They do.
And it's almost like the old comic book look.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But
so you can tell the difference in time.
Exactly.
It's cool. Yeah.
And Ruthie has a great line in here too, like on this page where she's like, you know, it's said at times that like a person can feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. And like for a lot of people that's a cliche, but for Supergirl that's actually
it literally was. Yeah.
But so
and see, Superman had an advantage because he was just a freaking baby.
A little bit too.
You know, he didn't know any of this stuff.
No, she had to live through
She's
this,
older. Yeah. Oh, that's weird that she's older than Superman.
Well, I don't know if technically she's older. If it's, I guess in this story it is.
Yeah, she is. She has to be because
she'd have to be.
They were both. Well, I don't know. Maybe her trajectory was different than his.
Like time passed.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and also like
if I learned anything from the original Superman movie, Richard Donner's Superman. It's that time passes differently as he goes through space and goes by the sun and all that stuff. So maybe it was different for both of them.
It could be that. Also, maybe the city holds for a lot longer before the radiation kind of comes into.
Could be.
There's things
so
like
you
that.
don't know when she actually launched versus when he did. Yeah.
So
I got you.
It could work that way.
But she looks like she's like a teenager.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she just celebrated her 21st birthday at the beginning of the story, though.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. Because she was on that planet where she could drink.
So maybe that's what, like, maybe Cal left, but it would make no sense because she wouldn't be born after.
Well,
it's got to be how
Cal,
time
Superman left before the planet blew up.
That's true.
I mean, they actually launched him before,
but it was wild. Like if it's Martin Brando in that movie,
well,
wild,
I get. Marlon Brando's never told a good story in his life, but
he's being played by Billy Zane.
What?
We talked about that
in the new one.
No. Marlon Brando's being played by Billy Zane.
Oh,
in that movie
yeah.
with John
Okay.
Hamm.
I thought we were saying in the new Superman movie
that
Billy Zane was going to be a big character, which would make my heart sink to my feet.
But so what happens after that is Supergirl shows back up after she's outran the orb.
Yeah.
And Krim can't believe it. And Ruthie asks, like, you afraid he has another Mordu globe? And Supergirl is not really. You can only have one at a time, and they're really hard to make. He probably didn't have the time to make another one. And she goes, so all he has is a sword and arrows, just from back at the beginning. And Ruthie's like, yeah, pretty much. And she catches it and like snaps it. And Ruthie's like, well, that's the trouble. I mean, because you're Supergirl. And you don't give a shit about swords and arrows, which is the callback to the very first issue there.
No, that's great.
So, and she snaps it, and that's where we end issue 6 of where they now finally have.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
Krim of the Yellow Hills. Oh, he is most certainly in trouble.
He's now Krim of the Yellow Pants.
Ah, nice joke.
Thank you.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.